I sent 100 cold DMs every single day for a year straight, and here's what happened. My biggest driver to getting clients when I was first getting started was really just cold DMs, and I would wake up every single morning to 15 to 20 messages of people saying that they were interested in my service. But first, it's about the channel you're going to use to actually get the clients. Obviously, there's several different platforms you can use: Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, X, school, all this stuff, right, that you can use. But I personally use a lot of Facebook. The reason for that, I hated Facebook. I know, only boomers use Facebook, but there's a ton of money to be made on Facebook. There's like 2 billion people on Facebook every single day. And the people on Facebook usually have more money than the people on Instagram. I just noticed that talking to people on Instagram, I'd always talk to people that were in Russia or in India. Not that obviously I've gotten clients in those countries, but they were just usually not as qualified as someone in the US. It was much easier to find someone in the US or someone that was older on Facebook rather than someone that's older on Instagram, And if they're older, they're probably more likely to have more money. And it's not that Instagram doesn't work, because it does. I'll go over that in a minute, but it just didn't work as well for me. But back to channels, you can use any channel: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. It's just about, is your audience on that platform? I'm not sure that plumbers are going to be as active on Twitter as they are on Facebook, but they're probably a little more active on Facebook. CEOs of multi-million-dollar companies are probably not going to be on Facebook as much as they are on LinkedIn. So you got to keep that in mind. Just think about where your prospect head is at, where your prospect's eyes are going, what platform are they using the most, right? That's the first thing. So I started using this with pest control companies. I started reaching out on Facebook business pages. A lot of pest control companies had Facebook business pages. Now, every single platform out there is multiple ways of doing that, like multiple ways of getting clients on that platform. So Facebook has several different ways of getting clients on that platform. LinkedIn has several different ways. For example, on LinkedIn, you can do a connection request campaign, an in-mail campaign. You can ask people to join your LinkedIn group, or invite people to a LinkedIn event, or just even apply for jobs on LinkedIn. There's so many different ways of doing it. I honestly implore you to try all of them on every platform, because you might find something that works really well for you. So I started just manually sending Facebook messages every day, usually 10 per hour and 50 total per day, to Facebook business pages. I would just copy and paste a message over and over and over again, and that's actually how I got my first client. I also started doing LinkedIn outreach for pest control companies, so I changed my tagline on my bio on LinkedIn. It was just, I help pest control companies get more bedbug heat treatments, and then I started reaching out to people on there. I use an automation software called WeConnect. I still use it to this day. It's pretty good. There's a ton of different softwares that you can use. I just use that because it had a little more features that I wanted, and I actually got my first couple sales calls from LinkedIn, but I got my first client from Facebook business page outreach. Now, LinkedIn was okay. I only maybe got 2 to 3 appointments per week, so it wasn't a lot. And honestly, they keep limiting LinkedIn platforms, so you can only send less and less and less every single day, really. But you can still make money on that platform, and there's some other ways that work really well on LinkedIn. Eventually, I stopped targeting pest control companies because they don't make a lot of money. It was really hard to sell them. It was hard for me to get appointments with them. I switched over to the B2B industry. Basically, any business that's a B2B, I was trying to help them. So marketing agencies, staffing agencies, PR firms, all that jazz, business brokers, business lending. Now, basically what you're doing is you're doing cold outreach for the B2B business, and you're helping them get appointments, because I got really good at cold outreach at that time. I made a whole other video on how to start a B2B agency, and you can watch that video too. But the first thing I needed to do in this new market was to find them. So to find Facebook groups that they would be part of. Now, the first thing I was doing is I was looking at groups that actively call out to them. So Facebook groups that are like marketing agency connect group, staffing agency connect group, PR firm connect group, which works pretty well. But if you want to go a layer deeper and actually get people that are ready to buy now, or people that are already kind of in the game, they have some skin in the game, they're probably ready to purchase something, you want to go to groups that that don't directly call out to them. For example, there is a software that a lot of marketing agencies use. There's a software called Go High Level. I can go into the Go High Level group. It's not called Marketing Agency Connect group. It's called Go High Level group. But the only people that are going to be in there are people that are using High Level, which is mostly marketing agencies. There's also even a layer deeper than that. There is Go High Level Job Network group, which this is only people that are looking for other people that are Go High Level experts, and they're looking for people they're trying to pay people to help them set up systems on Go High Level, right? So that's a little more advanced, but WeConnect, the software I was talking about for LinkedIn automation, if they're looking for LinkedIn automation, that means they're probably looking for other forms of cold outreach. So people that are in that group, or there's Expandy that has a group. Expandy is another LinkedIn automation software. Instantly has a Facebook group. Instantly is an email automation software. And those groups, again, they don't call out directly to people that are looking for cold outreach. It's just, this is the software. But if I know about the industry and I know that this Facebook group exists, that's the best groups to go into. And I've noticed usually the groups that are a little smaller, usually over 1,000, but not over, let's say, 50,000, in between that range, let's say 5 to 10,000 people, maybe 2 to 3,000 people. Those are really good groups, and they're highly targeted if like almost no one else really knows about the software and or knows about this little group. Now, obviously, we can apply this to other industries rather than just applying it to B2B or marketing or staffing agencies, all that jazz. So let's just say, for an example, we're trying to sell fitness training, and we're trying to sell that in Dallas, Texas for some reason. So there's other groups that might call out to your audience, not directly. There's probably not a Facebook group called people that are interested in fitness training in Dallas, Texas. That probably doesn't exist. But there might be a fitness of Dallas, Texas, right? But that's a very direct group. People that are other fitness trainers are probably in that group. But if I go to moms of Dallas, Texas, that's still my audience, but it's calling out directly to them. There's also retired people of Dallas, Texas, busy professionals, or maybe networking business group of Dallas, Texas, right? And so if you're always talking to moms or you're talking to retired people or busy professionals like that, your ideal target audience is busy professionals, there's probably a Facebook group that exists for you to sell people, in that group. Now, obviously in any Facebook group, there are several different ways of trying to get clients in a Facebook group, but the main way I use was just doing cold outreach to the members in that group. What I did, I would usually just go to the members tab in that Facebook group, go to members with things in common, and I would start reaching out to people that had keywords within that Facebook group. So if I was looking for owner, founder, CEO, I just looked for the keywords owner, founder, CEO, found people that were owners and founders and CEOs, and I started messaging people in there and also sending friend requests to them. Again, the DM rules that were on Facebook at the time at least were 10 to 12 an hour and then about 50 per day. You probably are limited a little less than that now. Facebook's added some limitations recently. So if I was just you and I was getting started and you're not very active on Facebook, I might start with like 10 one day and then try to do 20 the next day. If you get limited at all where Facebook says, hey, you can't send out any more DMs today, just wait a couple days and then try to get some activity coming towards your accounts and maybe get some friends to message you first and then start sending out more DMs to other people. Now within the message, I always try to portray the value that I'm trying to provide within that first message. You don't really want to beat around the bush or start building rapport. I've tested that before. It has not really worked that well for me. And so the messages that I was sending were very simple. There'd be something like, hey, I've got a one-click appointment system if you're interested. Very direct to the point, but also I'm not even having a direct call to action. I just said, if you're interested, right? So then they can just respond from there. You can usually start a conversation, but they still need to know what the conversation is going to be about. You're not just going to say, how's your kids doing or how's business? You still want to go in with, here's what I'm trying to sell you. Would you be open to that, right? Another message I would send is, if I could get you 40 appointments per month for your staffing agency, would you be interested? Just asking it as a question. Or something like, hey, I know you get 1,487,925 messages per day, but just hear me out. I can bring you 40 appointments per month if you're interested, guaranteed. And if it doesn't work, I'll pay you $3,000. Would you be open to that? These messages worked really well for me. You can apply these frameworks to whatever you're trying to send, so just adjust them for whatever you're selling. And I also made another video in my free course in the description below on 11 different frameworks that I use for cold outreach scripts. Now again, when you're trying to send these messages, try to make sure you also send a friend request when sending a message. Just because sometimes the message is just going to go to their message request folder, and a lot of times people don't check that message request folder. But if you send them a friend request and they accept it, now you can use your own personal profile as some sort of newsletter. So basically, if I have a whole bunch of people accepting me as a friend, now I have 5,000 friends. And so whenever I post something, thousands of people see it, and these are people that are in my audience. Some people that, let's just say, didn't respond to my message initially, but they saw my Facebook post, and now they're responding to my Facebook post, and now we can have a conversation from there. So it's kind of like a nurturing tool for long term. And you can also, if they accept your friend request, but they didn't respond to your message, what you can do is go to your friends tab, your current friends, right? Go to recently added friends, and just look through the ones of people that haven't responded, and you can follow up with them and say, hey, just think if you got my last message, because once they accept you as a friend, if you send another message, it'll go into their message box, right? It won't go into the request box, so they'll see the message that you send them. Now, eventually I started using an automation tool for this. I use a tool called Leadbook to basically automate 50 messages per day. And so it's just a Chrome extension. You just turn it on every day. It'll look for people with the keywords that you're looking for. So if I'm looking for owner, founder, CEO, it'll find those people and send messages directly to them and send a friend request. Another insane strategy that worked extremely well for me is just trying to find someone that might be selling something similar to what you're selling. For example, if we can find a Facebook group of someone that's a really big, successful fitness trainer, and they are posting something in a group and they're saying, hey, I'm looking to help 10 people lose 20 pounds in the next 30 days, guaranteed, who's interested, right? And we have hundreds of comments saying, I'm interested, I'm interested, I'm interested. We can go to those comments and we can just reach out to people that have commented on that post and say, and we can just give them the exact same offer, but we say it ourselves, because if they have 100 comments, they're only going to get to a couple of them. They're not going to be able to message all 100 of them that day. Plus, most people, let's say the price was too high or the price was too low or just the value wasn't there for that particular client or it was just a bad time for them, whatever, right? There's so many different factors as to why they didn't buy. And out of that 100 people that commented on that post, maybe only 10% max have bought from them. And so we have another 90% that haven't bought from them. So now we can reach out to them and try to sell to them as well. And so that's a perfect scenario where we have people that are raising their hand. They're already saying they're interested. They're actively on Facebook. And so it's really easy to get those people to close as as well. Now, while I was using Facebook outreach, I was also doing LinkedIn outreach. LinkedIn outreach did work pretty well for me in the B2B space. Again, not too many calls. Within the B2B space, I was getting about 3 to 5 calls per day. Still not a lot, but I still got very consistent calls, and they were very high quality calls. We'll just say that, right? And also, LinkedIn is much more easier to manage than Facebook. You obviously can do more on LinkedIn. I just wasn't doing that much on there, but I was just setting up an automation on WeConnect. I just click play, let it run. It would just, it would run for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks at a time. I didn't have to touch it. I would just, look at LinkedIn every morning to see if I got any replies or respond back and forth to them. But I really didn't have to touch the automation or had to fix anything until it ran out of contacts, which, took about 3 or 4 weeks to do that. With WeConnect, you can send about 25 to 30 connection requests per day, and it'll have an automation flow. If they respond to your connection request and they accept it, then it'll automatically send a message, all that jazz. That can work kind of, but it's very slow. The strategy that works really well right now is just an in-mail campaign. Basically, you can send in-mails to people that have an open profile. An open profile is just a profile where the person just allowing anybody to message them. So a lot of profiles are open profiles. And so if I can message all the people that have open profiles, you can message a lot more people, and you can get in front of them instantly rather than waiting for them to accept your connection request and then you have to send a message, right? So you can do about 25 to 30 of those per day. So we can do both connection requests and in-mails in the same day, and you can get a lot of replies just doing those two things. Now, the thing with both of these platforms that you have to understand is that you have to stay consistent. I would implore you to try to do this every single day. Just because on average, let's just say if you send out 50 messages one day, you might get a 5% response rate. So that's maybe 2 to 4 replies out of 50 messages. But you maybe get 10 to 12% response rate over time. So the 50 messages you send a day, you might get 2 to 4 replies today, but you might get another 2 replies tomorrow, and maybe another 2 replies over the course of the next week, And so if I do this every single day, right, I might get 6 to 10 replies over the course of the next 2 weeks, right, from this one day I sent messages. And if I did it one day, I might get 6 to 10 replies right over the course of the next 2 weeks. But if I did it every single day for a week, then next week they're going to trickle in from last week, and then next week they're going to trickle in for the last 2 weeks, and then next month, right? I have people that reach out to me from 3 years ago. I DM'd them, and they're just now reaching out to me. People do that all the time to me. Like every week I get someone from like 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 8 months ago, right? All this stuff. It's so nice to have people just trickling in over time, but you're not going to receive that effect if you stop doing it, obviously. So just keep it consistent and do it every day. I'd also do it on the weekend. It does actually work even better on weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I also would test just the weird things. You don't have to stick to what I did. I would test out Twitter. I have some people, a friend of mine, DJ, he has a YouTube channel. You can check him out. He is getting a 5% reply rate on Twitter DMs. So that's about 20 replies per day, because on Twitter, you can send 400 messages a day. On Facebook, only 50, Twitter, 400. Now, your audience has to be on Twitter if you're targeting plumbers. Probably not as many plumbers on Twitter as there are on Facebook. You can also do school outreach. And I know school is it's just a weird platform. Not as many people are on it, but I had a lady that was on school, and she was just doing cold DMs, and she made $10,000 in 2 days from just doing some school outreach. It was crazy. It's all worth testing, but always try at a small scale. I only really stuck with one account. Now, I had 3 or 4 Facebook accounts as I grew, but everything was kind of done through my one main account. It's really hard to scale 10 accounts at a time. And what I see happen with a lot of people is that they think it's going to work. I say, hey, do school outreach, right? So they go out and make 30 school accounts or 30 Twitter accounts, and then they try to use automations on all the Twitter accounts. They spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars trying to build out this automation thing where it's going to send out tens of thousands of messages per day, and they're going to make a ton of money. But then it didn't work at all. If it's not going to work with one account, it's not going to work with 10 accounts. 10 times 0 is still 0. So test it with one account first. Test it on a small scale for as cheap as possible. Right? I won't even buy any automations. I'm trying to save you money here. Don't buy anything. Just try it on a small scale. If it doesn't work on a small scale, it's probably not going to work on a large scale. Right? We wanted to get it to work first, then start investing money into it. I didn't start investing money into the automation softwares. I knew a Facebook automation tool existed, but I didn't want to spend the $100 per month for some of the tools, because I knew, if I'm not making $100 a month off of this right now doing it manually, why would I spend $100, been doing it automated, right? And so I started making tens of thousands of dollars from Facebook just doing manual outreach. I was like, oh, obviously it's going to be worth it if I spend $100 a month and I'm able to automate it, Now, if you want a system to consistently get 120 sales calls per month, I will create the systems for you. I will set up the automations for you. I'll create the scripts for you. We'll get the list for you, everything. And you also get one-on-one calls with me whenever you need. If you're interested in that, you can book a call with my team below. Thank you for watching. Talk to you soon.